So today I'm going to answer a question that I am constantly asked by folks looking to make a move to Northern Virginia. I'm Amanda Davidson, a local real estate broker here in Northern Virginia, and I am constantly asked this question, so I'm really excited to talk about it. And that is, people ask whether they should rent when they're relocating here or whether they should buy. So if that's a question that's swirling around in your head, you are not going to want to miss it. I'm going to be answering it today. We get reach outs every single day for people looking to make their move to Northern Virginia. So if that's you, feel free to call, text, or email us, whatever works for you. One of the questions that we are asked over and over again is whether or not I should rent or buy when relocating. And you know the move is in your future, you know Northern Virginia is where you want to be, but right now you're at home thinking, should I rent or should I buy? So let's start with renting first. Something to consider first is both the rental and the housing market are always changing. And chances are what's happening at your current home isn't what's happening here in Northern Virginia. Real estate is such a micro level that you really do have to be aware of both the rental and the housing market in order to make the most informed decision. Rents surged here during the pandemic, just like they did in a lot of other places. The prices really went up here. But what's happened now is there are a ton of apartments that are available for rent here. But on the flip side, if you're looking for a single family home, inventory is very, very low when it comes for single family homes and rentals here. So depending on what the dynamic is of your lifestyle, your family makeup, and what type of property you're looking for is then going to dictate how much you're going to be spending. You should be prepared that in Northern Virginia, if you are looking to rent a single family home, it's definitely going to cost you $3,000 or more. $3,000 is definitely on the lowest end right now. It's probably going to cost you a bit more. So what are some of the benefits of renting here in Northern Virginia? I would say the first one has got to be flexibility. When you are going to be moving and you have a home to sell, logistically, there's just a lot that goes into it. Where on the flip side, if you're renting a home, when that lease is up, you're free to go wherever you would like to go. The other thing with renting is if you're moving to Northern Virginia and you're not sure if you're going to be here more than a couple years, then I would say it really makes more sense to go ahead and rent versus buying a home. Again, because flexibility is going to be important if you know you're going to be moving yet again in the near future. Think about your job. Does it change and make you move around frequently? If so, it's probably smarter to rent unless you want to be a landlord when it comes time to move. Next is limited maintenance responsibility. And let's be real, when you're renting, you have very limited requirements on what you're responsible for maintenance-wise. If that water heater gives out, all you have to do is call the landlord or the property manager or whoever it is. You're not spending the $1,500, $2,000 to fix it, and you're also not spending your time to fix it either. And that's something that renting really does have a benefit over home ownership with. You are very limited in what you have to do. Now, if you get a cruddy landlord, I can assure you they're not going to be fixing much of anything, and that can definitely be a downside. But as long as you have a solid landlord or a solid property management company overseeing the property, you're going to be saving yourself both time and money because you're not going to have to deal with all of the maintenance that homes require. Another plus about renting is it really comes with lower risk. There is something to be said about the flexibility to not only move around, but you also aren't subject to increase in housing markets, decreases in housing markets, interest rates, increase in property taxes or insurance. There's a lot of different factors that play into owning a home that are simply out of your control as far as what the market is doing. So you're taking on less risk when you are a renter. Lastly, another huge positive for renting when you're relocating is your ability to check out more neighborhoods. When you're relocating, it's very different than when you're moving within a city or an area that you're already familiar with. And yes, we do virtual tours with our clients. We educate them about the area. I have tons of YouTube videos out there, but nothing replaces actually getting settled into an area and seeing how the vibe is and whether or not you really like it. You might want that flexibility to check out different neighborhoods, move around a few times before you decide to plant roots and purchase a home. And I think that is a gigantic advantage of renting. Not to say that you can't find the right neighborhood if you are relocating from out of state, but there is always that chance that you do your research, we tour you around, you pick a neighborhood, and then after you've lived there for a couple years, you think, you know, if I had to do this over again, I probably would have picked a different area to live in Northern Virginia. And that's just one of the perks of renting. You can sign on for a year term in most cases, sometimes 18 months, but in many just a year. And if you don't like it, no big deal, you can just move somewhere else. So what are some tips I can give you about renting when you're relocating? First up, you're always welcome to reach out to us. But I do want to be upfront. We do not handle any rentals. We focus solely on residential real estate, so buying and selling. But we know a couple of great local property management companies that we can put you in touch with. My next tip would be, do not rely on these online portals like Zillow. A lot of times what happens is listings stay up on these sites, not just Zillow, they're just an example, but they're left up way longer than they're actually available because Zillow makes money by collecting data from leads, you the consumer filling out the information, and then it resells it to real estate agents. So you could be looking at a property online that you think is perfect for you, but it was actually rented 2 or even 3 months ago. The data just isn't current. You really need a property management company with boots on the ground to be able to connect you with reputable landlords and reputable properties. There are varying conditions of properties in the sense of how landlords maintain them or don't maintain them. So you want to make sure that you are connecting with the right people to help you with your rental search. The other thing that is known to happen on online portals is unfortunately fraud, and rental scams run wild, not just here in Northern Virginia, but in general. And you could find yourself already paying a deposit and filling out an application and executing a lease, only to find out that the person you've been dealing with was a complete scam. So you really want to be cautious of who you're connecting with. Another tip is, if you can, have the property management company do virtual tours for you. This is something that we do with a lot of our buyers who are relocating here. We go out, we film the house, we send them the video so that they have a true idea of what it looks like. And chances are, if you're going to be renting, you're probably on a pretty tight budget, and that can save you a lot of trips to Northern Virginia so that you don't have to be physically touring homes in person, but you'll still know exactly what they look like and you can get feedback from that property management company. This also gives you a leg up because the market, even for rentals, especially ones that show really well, it's moving fast here right now. So you really have to get to a property pretty quickly, especially if it's a single family home. And if you get a virtual tour without coming to Northern Virginia, you can then make an informed decision if you want to go ahead and put an application in before it's too late. All right, so let's flip the coin to buying a house. And what does it look like when you're buying a home as an out-of-state buyer? Of course, there's the process still of getting pre-approved, touring homes, going under contract, inspection, appraisal, etc. But we have to factor in that you are many, many miles away, possibly on the other side of the United States, depending on where you're coming from. And that definitely plays a role in how we make a game plan to make this as easy as possible for you. When you're moving from out of state, it is imperative that you connect with a reputable real estate agent who can give you an idea of all the different areas, who will listen to your wants and needs, and then be able to deliver for you. That really is your first step to avoiding this being a complete headache. If you make the wrong choice in an agent, the rest is probably not going to go too smoothly. And what your agent can do, and what we do for our clients, is get them connected with a local lender who is respected in the area and known for meeting deadlines and being communicative 7 days a week, really 24/7. And that way they can get you set up, get your budget determined, and then from there, you want to get set up on an MLS listing alert. Similar to rentals, don't go to Zillow for your home search. Yeah, it's great to just browse around on, but the data just simply isn't current. And the market is moving really fast, same for rentals as it is for buying right now. So you really need to have a live feed from the MLS so that you can stay on top of new listings and then be able to make sure that your agent is taking you out, or in this case, with your relocation, we can go do a virtual tour for you so that you never have to leave your house. We can FaceTime, we could take a video. There's a lot of options there, and that really is super important for out-of-state buyers so that you're not forced to spend the time and the money coming to Northern Virginia every single time there's a house that comes on that you're interested in. Other than that, it really just comes down to deciding how you're going to move. It really doesn't vary much from renting. You've got to figure out the area you want to be in, the type of property you want to be in, and then line things up for your move. And if you have a house to sell where you're currently living, no worries, we can always coordinate those closings. And even if you need a recommendation for an agent in the area you're currently in, we have a huge network of agents and can always connect you with someone that will help you with selling your home too. Okay, so what are some of the advantages of buying a home in Northern Virginia? I would say if you are planning on moving to Northern Virginia and staying here for at least 2 years, you really should look into buying to see if that's what's going to be best for you. And the reason I believe that, and one of the most incredible things that comes from purchasing a home, is equity. You are building equity when you are a homeowner, and that's never going to happen when you're a renter. And here in Northern Virginia, what's happened over the years, a lot of years, prices continue to go up. So just as an example, it's kind of like a forced savings account, which I absolutely love about having a mortgage. And I have clients who moved here just 2 years ago, purchased a house in Alexandria for $650,000, and they sold it just a couple months ago because they ended up having a change in family dynamics and they needed to head back to where they came from in Texas. So they only had the house for 2 years and 1 month. And guess how much it sold for? $850,000. And they hadn't done any major renovations or anything like that. For the most part, they maintained it, of course, but it was very similar in terms of updates and when they bought it. So they walked away with this huge amount of proceeds, even after transfer taxes, realtor fees, closing costs, etc. They had this nice little nest egg to take with them back to Texas. And had they rented when they came here, they wouldn't have any of that, because they wouldn't have been building equity. Now, of course, they paid down their mortgage a little bit over those 2 years, but the vast majority of those proceeds was simply because of appreciation. Appreciation on homes in Northern Virginia is extremely steady, and over the past few years, it has been absolutely massive. We simply don't have enough homes to meet the demand, so prices continue to go up, and in turn, you can build equity when you own a home. Now, hopefully you're not going to be moving every 2 years. I definitely don't recommend that, but the equity grows and grows over time, and there's always benefits to having that net worth. And it also gives you a little safety net if for some reason you need to access your equity in your home. As long as you're a homeowner and you have it, you have that safety net if you need a home equity line of credit, if you need cash quickly for something, if there's an emergency, you've got it. Something else to think about with purchasing a home, especially if you're going to be in the Northern Virginia area for the long term, is you can have a fixed monthly payment on your home and your income can continue to go up every single year, but you keep that same payment with the exception of if your property taxes change. They will probably go up a little bit, but it's not the same as the amount your income is going to increase. Think about, just for an example, the income that you made 20 years ago, just let's say, and then compare that to the income that you're currently making now. The average American stays in their home for 13 years. So even if you only want to go back 13 years, I guarantee you your income is higher now than it was then, when your housing payment could be exactly the same. So that really creates a lot of flexibility as well, where if you continue to rent year after year, you're going to have a change in your rent for the most part, or you're going to have to downgrade the type of property that you're renting in order to keep that amount the same. Although rents are not surging the way that they used to, they definitely have small increases every year, especially if you're renewing your lease. Another benefit of buying is control over your home, and your environment is crazy important. When you're renting, you pretty much get some white walls, maybe some gray walls, and that's about it. And you know if you make a hole in one of those walls, it's gonna cost you in the form of a deduction of your security deposit. Where if you buy your home, you can make it your own. Of course, if it's in an HOA, you have to abide by those guidelines, but On the inside of your home, you can paint the walls whatever color you would like, hang as many pictures as you'd like. If you want to remodel your kitchen and take a wall out, you can do that as well. You just have so much more control over your environment. And I think it's really underestimated how important your home environment is to your overall well-being. Home should be your place of peace and where you feel most comfortable. And if you can't make any changes to the place that you're in, well, that might not be possible. Where if you own, you can do what you want to make it feel as homey as you want it to. I saved the best one for last, and that is security. And I don't mean home security, but I mean financial security. When you are in a home year after year, you're building that equity, and we touched on that a little bit earlier. You're never going to do that when you're renting. And the financial security that comes from long-term home ownership is a game changer. When you look at the spread of the net worth from someone who owns a home versus someone who has been renting, there's just no comparison. Homeowners have hundreds of thousands of dollars of equity, and not only are you creating that financial security for yourself, but it also could be something that you pass down to a loved one in your family, whether that's a child or someone else. It really all depends, but you are creating that long-term wealth through this long-term financial commitment. Now, I'm not saying owning a house is unicorns and glitter. It's not all good. There's maintenance, you've got to take care of things. You've got to consider property taxes and insurance. But overall, when it comes to financial security, it's been proven over and over again that those who own homes are more financially secure and build wealth faster than those who don't. Now, I'm not here to tell you you have to buy a home. Only you can make that decision. And there is a more complicated process in terms of logistics when you are relocating from one area to another and buying a home. But we do it all the time. We can make it very smooth for you. But at the end of the day, the only person that can answer whether or not you want to buy a home is you. I would ask yourself 3 questions. First one is, what do you want your lifestyle to look like? Second, how long do you plan on staying in Northern Virginia? Third, how often do you change jobs, or are you going to be relocated within the same company and have to move in the near future? All of those should play a big factor in deciding whether or not you want to buy or rent. You can navigate whichever way makes the most sense for you. We are simply here to provide you with the information that you need, answer your questions, and then empower you to make the decision that makes the most sense for you. We've connected with folks who have rented here in Northern Virginia, and we've connected with folks who have purchased here in Northern Virginia. Our job is simply to provide you with information so that you can make the best decision. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below or reach out to me. And until I see you on the next one, thanks for watching.